Why don't you just learn to play real guitar? Think about how good you could be if you spent as much time with real guitar as you did with Guitar Hero. We've all heard this kind of thing before. Anytime a Guitar Hero video goes viral, there's always people in the comments saying, why don't you learn to play real guitar? Or think about how good you could be if you learned a real instrument instead of wasting all your time playing Guitar Hero. Well, I'm here to tell you today that being good at guitar or any other instrument is almost as useless of a skill as being good at Guitar Hero. Now, I know I probably just made a lot of people upset about that, but when you really think about it, what exactly is playing guitar? I mean, it's a hobby. It's something you'll probably mostly do just in your bedroom by yourself, and then maybe show off to people every once in a while. But all of that could also be said about Guitar Hero. At least you can make money playing guitar. Now, this is something that comes up a lot, is that you can make money from playing real guitar.
Hey folks, what's happening? It's Todd here, and I'm about to show you the hardest thing that you can do on the guitar. Now, there's a lot of guitar players out on YouTube. A lot of them are really good. But most of them can't do this one thing. So I'm about to show you the hardest thing that you can do on the guitar. You ready? Make actual money.
Yeah, so I think that says a lot about actual guitar playing. Anyone in the music industry knows that making money as a guitarist is near impossible these days. So another thing to consider is that guitar playing is expensive. If you're just looking to buy like a really basic practice guitar, then I mean, you're still spending probably a couple $100s. But if you're looking at getting serious, I mean, you're looking at thousands on gear. I mean, I got one friend who just plays in like local bands, and he's got about $10,000 worth of guitar gear. I mean, part of that is that you just kind of get addicted, and every time you see another cool guitar, you're just like, I have to have that one too, even though I have another one that'll play just fine. With how hard it is to make money playing guitar, and how much it costs doing it too, like, I would say very few guitarists even break even on how much they spent on the gear, or at least it'll take a long time of playing shows trying to make money back. I have a friend who's in a metal band, and he actually explained it to me like this. It's nobody cares how good you are, they only care how good you sound, which is a pretty sad reality when it comes to the music industry these days, because so much can be automated, and yeah, being good at guitar, like, sure, a real guitarist will sound a little bit different than any automation could ever copy, and a lot of people will prefer real guitarists. But another thing you should think about is that some of the most amazing guitarists that I've ever seen make hardly any money. Like, I don't know the exact financial situation of a lot of these guys, but when you look at big name artists, like if you look at rich musicians these days, they're not guitarists anymore. They're all pop singers and rappers, and even the bands that are big and famous, they're not super talented. You know, they're basic stuff like, let's see what's on top, you know. The bands that are making a ton of money are bands like, you know, Imagine Dragons or Weezer or 21 Pilots. You know, not even like really technical guitarist stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I love talented guitarists, but being good at guitar, I would not recommend aiming for that if you're trying to make money. So yes, you can join a band, and yeah, sure, you might be able to make some friends, but in this age, it's really difficult to find like-minded people who all share the same sense of like musical taste, and who are all dedicated enough to practice and coordinate. And if by some miracle you actually do manage to pull together and create an album or some singles or whatever, and you release them to the internet, that's only the first step. Then you've got to fight with this extremely competitive music industry where making money is near impossible. So just because you can create amazing music doesn't even mean that you can make enough to do it full time or make any kind of career out of it. So, I mean, it's a sad reality, but actual rock bands are kind of dying out. So another thing that seems to come up a lot is that real guitar is so much harder than Guitar Hero. And I mean, yes, if you're playing the exact same song on real guitar as you are on Guitar Hero, then yes, playing it on real guitar is going to be more difficult almost every time. But that's not really a fair comparison when you really think about it. Because, like, look at it this way. In any kind of skill, there is a learning curve. So there's the mechanics that you have to get over first, which is like, say for Guitar Hero, the mechanics are, the strum bar and the 5 buttons. And then after you can get that down, then there's the song difficulty on top of that. And then you have real guitar, where like, let's say that Guitar Hero's mechanics are this, because you only have, 5 buttons and a strum bar. And then real guitar, like the mechanics are this that you have to get over. But then like adding on top of that, let's say you want to play an easy song, like you're only adding that much. But on the real guitar, you want to play an easy song, you're adding that much. So, I mean, it isn't a real fair comparison because the real guitar's mechanics are a lot harder to get down. But it really just comes down to preference. And the reason I honestly enjoy Guitar Hero more because I like the learning curve of, easy to learn, and then, I mean, the sky's the limit. Like, there's really no skill cap in Guitar Hero. There's no skill cap in real guitar either. So both of them can be incredibly easy. Both of them can be infinitely hard. So it doesn't make sense to say that one is more difficult than the other because, I mean, both of them can continue to get harder and harder forever. So yeah, like, say you put 100 hours into practicing Guitar Hero, and then somebody else puts 100 hours into practicing real guitar, and let's say they both gained about the same amount from it. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, that's much more impressive what the person on real guitar can do, as opposed to what the guy who is playing Guitar Hero can do. But I mean, in reality, they both spent the same amount of time and effort into learning those things. So something that mostly bothers me is when somebody who say they can learn to play a few really basic songs on guitar, and now all of a sudden they call themselves a guitar player. Being a guitar player isn't all that special. I mean, I've been playing guitar for probably 3 or 4 years by now, and I mean, I feel like real guitar players like to pick on Guitar Hero players because guitar players get picked on by better guitar players all the time. So I mean, you walk into almost anybody's house, like everybody's dad has an old guitar, I mean, everybody's brother has a guitar. I mean, anybody can just go down to Guitar Center and, spend a few $100s on a real guitar. So it's not really that special of a hobby to get into. I'm really into a lot of musical instruments and a lot of video games, and they are very fun in very similar ways. They both challenge your hand-eye coordination, and they both really, exercise your brain, and they both really help with your mental flexibility. They're a good pastime. But I don't really think of video games or musical instruments like one being really better than the other. I mean, it really depends on the video game, actually. Like Guitar Hero, for example, is a skill video game. Like, it's a game that you play so that you can get better, and then the more you play, you're actually gaining something out of it because you're gaining a skill. And like I said, a lot of people say, well, that's a useless skill. But refer back to when I said playing real guitar is almost just as useless of a skill. Now, I love real guitarists, don't get me wrong. I have tons of friends in bands. We wouldn't even have music. We wouldn't have Guitar Hero if it weren't for real guitar. So yeah, I'm not hating on real guitarists. I'm just saying that it's not as special as people make it out to be. So which do you prefer, Guitar Hero or real guitar? I mean, I honestly enjoy playing Guitar Hero a little bit more, mainly because of how it's structured, in that, there's just a long list of songs you can play. You don't need to practice a song over and over again usually to learn to play it. And you can just kind of sight read things a lot easier because, like I said, the mechanics of Guitar Hero are a lot easier to get past than the real guitar. So when you're learning a song on guitar, you've got to read through the tabs. Maybe you can sight read it if you're reading off of Songster or something, but for the most part you're reading tabs and going over parts over and over again, trying to memorize it, trying to get it all down, and it's much more tedious than Guitar Hero. I think that's why people say that it's more difficult. And yes, that part of it is more difficult. I know there's like, what's that game called? Rocksmith, that's the name of it. So, of course that's like a video game that sort of teaches you to play real guitar. And also Rock Band 3 did like a pro guitar thing. And that's actually how I learned to play drums, was through Rock Band 3, if you saw that video. But, yeah, honestly, it comes down to preference. Do whatever you want. Don't let anybody tell you which one to play. If you're enjoying it, then that's great. Both of them are a lot of fun, and both of them can be very productive. So, so which is better? Of course it's guitar.